Well, of course, warmth has been the highlight across many parts of the United States during the month of December, but it looks as if we are starting to see things changing as we progress towards the middle portion of January. Thanks for clicking on to the Thursday edition of Vogan's European Outlook. It's the 6th of January, and like I said, the United States is starting to see a lot colder air now, of course. Much of December was very, very warm across the lower 48, while up across particularly Western Canada, extending up towards Alaska, was seen record-breaking cold temperatures as well as snowfall. But we're starting to see the Arctic starting to unload that reservoir of cold that's been firmly anchored over Canada during the month of December. Now starting to empty into the lower 48. We're seeing temperatures more typical of midwinter now established over the northern and central portion of the country. And the cold, while it's been quite reluctant to reach the east coast, we are starting to see things changing around here. And I'm going to look at the United States today. I'm going to also look at, very briefly, Asia, because we've seen the heavy snowfall in the Japanese capital of Tokyo in 4 years. And then I will end the video today by looking at our own situation here in the UK as well as Europe here. So this is the GFS 2 meter temperature anomaly chart here, and you can see here the bright purple colours representing temperatures a good 20-30 below normal. And as I skip through the loop, notice here that the super warm air temperatures into the upper 20s, even low 30s in recent times. So that's 80-degree warmth is starting to get pushed out into the Atlantic here, and we're opening the freezer door, so to speak, across the southern tier of the lower 48 here, which is, I suppose it is good to see. We want to see winter weather during the winter season, of course, and I'm sure folks here across the southeast will be glad to see something a bit colder. Maybe not. Maybe you like swimming pool weather in January. I don't know, but certainly that cold air will spread its way east, and it's coming in waves actually. And what's interesting is as we push through the upcoming weekend, while we've got very cold air over the eastern half of the United States, it's actually cast your eyes up towards Western Canada, because what we're going to start to see is this cold here in particular could have a massive blast of cold during the early portion of next week here, and this could be the first the first indicator of something. I've been eating nuts, by the way, and I think I've just dried my throat out, so I do apologise for choking. But very, very cold air kind of just starts to appear in that chart. And then as we press into the early portion of next week, watch how that bitterly cold air then kind of punches southeastwards over the country here. What we get is we've got a cold area of high pressure, low thicknesses down towards 500 decameters here, representing the tropopause and the troposphere getting shrunk down to the lower portion of the atmosphere when you've got super bitterly cold Arctic air into the pattern here. And then as we press into next week, those deep purples push down into the east coast here. Could be seeing temperatures in the single digits Fahrenheit in places such as New York City. So that could be minus 15 to close to minus 18 Celsius, which would be 0 Fahrenheit. We've not seen that, I believe, since February, Valentine's Day, in fact, of February 2016. So it'd be very interesting to see, especially if you lay down snow cover and then you ride that almost due north wind out of Canada straight into New York. Could be talking temperatures getting very close to the negative digits here in terms of Fahrenheit. Below 0, I think cities such as Providence and Boston, and then get up into New England here, we could be talking about temperatures into the minus 20s, minus 30s Fahrenheit. So yeah, very, very cold. This could be a noteworthy cold spell, in fact, for the eastern half of the United States. Looking at Asia here, Eastern Asia in particular, and of course you've got the very cold weather across Japan. We've seen record-breaking snowfall. We've also seen record cold temperatures as well. In fact, the high in Tokyo of 2.6 Celsius was in fact the coldest day in Tokyo in 19 years. It also came with the heaviest snowfall in 4 years for the Japanese capital as well. Now, you notice here there is a lot of warmth over the heart of Asia at this time, so not massively cold, but we do have a lot of cold air over the Sea of Japan, helping enhance that snowfall, of course, and winds coming in off nearby Russia as well here. But as I skip through this GFS 2 meter temperature chart here as well, you can see here some of that warmth does try to push into Japan, but there's also cold air coming in as well. And then we do see another wave of probably heavy snowfall as well as record-breaking temperatures across parts of the Koreas, North, South Korea, Japan, and winds blowing straight off Siberia across the Sea of Japan. Of course, you get the classic sea effect snowfall. We could be talking multiple meters of snow in the Japanese Alps, for example, but that's no surprise. It's the snowiest place in the world, of course, so you would expect to see that. But interesting nonetheless that Japan overall is holding on to this very, very cold weather indeed. Finally, let's have a look at Europe here, and we'll go to the overview chart. This is quite interesting actually. What we've got at the moment, of course, is we had the frontal system, twin fronts. First one was a warm front, secondary front was a cold front. So we had a small narrow wedge of mild air aloft. We've seen pretty much all rain at sea level, but of course get up into elevation, period of time there slightly milder aloft. But then, of course, with that secondary cold front moving through, we've reintroduced colder air from the Atlantic here. Of course, this area of low pressure, an absolute beast, down close to 930 in millibars off Iceland. And what that's doing is it's basically pulling, dragging super cold air from Canada, from Greenland, into its circulation, and of course it's crossing the Atlantic here, modified of course by the time it reaches the UK. So that frontal system will push through. We will see a cold westerly flow over the course of tomorrow, temperatures suppressed with that strength of wind, and of course the polar maritime air mass as well. And then as we push towards the weekend, what we're going to see is we get a little bit of a bump in the isobars here, but that area of high pressure between the Azores and Iberia is essentially feeding a slightly milder air ahead of the next frontal system coming in off the Atlantic. So that means that we're going to have less cold air to play with, so to speak, and therefore I think we're going to have purely high ground snow rain to low levels here. As we press through the period here, we're still holding on to cold air up across Scandinavia, Finland, Russia. What's going to take place is we're going to maintain that cold over the northern half of the continent. We're going to see areas of low pressure that is going to be feeding off North America, off Greenland, and kind of pushing up towards Iceland. The reason why they're not pushing towards the British Isles is because what we've got is 3 areas of high pressure that is essentially forcing these areas of low pressure up towards Iceland here. So continuation of stormy conditions here. We've got an area of high pressure near the Azores, another one over the southern portion of Europe. We've got another one here. In fact, there's 4. We've got one over far eastern Europe and also one over Scandinavia. This is essentially shutting the door to any track off the Atlantic indirectly towards the UK. They're always getting sent northwards here. As I continue to press through this loop here, folks, what will take place is we've got a little bit more of an alteration. The area of high pressure now starts to become a little bit more established between Greenland and Scandinavia. Still got an active jet stream, so areas of low pressure will continue to push across the Atlantic, But instead of going up towards Iceland, they're going to start to get deflected southwards here. That changes the game in the upper atmosphere. And then as we press through the loop, we'll pay close attention to area of high pressure that's over Scandinavia. What happens is that we are going to start to see that area of high pressure digging south. It's going to become stronger. And what is going to be close, we're going to have to closely monitor this setup here, folks, because that area of high pressure over Scandinavia is going to start to expand. And as it expands, we'll start to see air getting transported underneath the area of high pressure westwards here. Am I starting to talk about a Scandinavian block? Yep, possibly. One model run, a lot can change. So there's no point in getting carried away. There's no point in starting to kind of blow this up into something massive, dramatizing it, trying to get more hits on Facebook or YouTube or whatever. It's not the case. I'm simply reading what's taking place. But remember that there is an increasing chance of seeing something colder towards the second half of January. And look at this here. We'll start to see an elongation of high pressure that develops off the west coast of the British Isles. And we've got, of course, the strengthening of high pressure over mainland Europe here. What happens is the model starts to connect two up, and bingo, you've got the transport of cold air, potentially. I've just lost it there because I'm a div. You've got the elongated area of high pressure extending from just west of the UK through the British Isles, Denmark. They've got a centre of high pressure, and we've got another area of high pressure over western Russia here. What we'll start to do is the model is sniffing out an easterly airflow here into the towards the British Isles here. So certainly something worth paying some attention to, and I certainly like what I'm seeing here. But let's watch and see if the model has any merit to this, holds on to this. It could disappear in a few days here. So like I say, there's no point in getting carried away too much here. But certainly there is reason to be somewhat more optimistic as we push towards the middle and second half of January here. So I'll end it for now. Hope you have a great evening. I'll be back in the next day or so with more looking at the longer term models here. Please, of course, like, share, and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you again hopefully tomorrow. Bye for now.